Have you ever considered quitting? Have you ever been so low in your beekeeping experience that you thought, maybe this isn't for me? Or maybe you're not there yet, but you see it could be on the horizon because right now it's just kind of getting confusing. Well, today I'm going to show you exactly where the point is that most beekeepers quit. And when you see that clearly, you'll also see you will recognize where you are so that you have also the choice to succeed. So stick around and I'm going to show you the arc of experience, the emotional roller coaster, if you will, that beekeepers go through, that every successful beekeeper has gone through, and you can too. So stick around. So welcome back to the Hive Doctor, everyone. Today we're going to be using the hood of the Beak Jeep as our office desk. As you can see, I've already got some materials on there. And we're going to draw some very cool things to give you the visual that you need to see where failure happens in beekeeping and where success begins. So let's head on over to the Jeep. Done. You know what? I decided to use the windshield instead. So let's go ahead and zoom in here and start looking at the arc of the beekeeping experience. Okay, so beekeeping's got to start somewhere. So we're going to start it right here. This is point number 1. This begins with your curiosity and fascination with honeybees. Right here is when you start watching videos, reading books. Your optimism is high and ready and excited to get starting in a new thing. And perhaps right here is even where you join a club. From here, we can only go up because we are excited. And so we work up to the point where we decide to, at point number 2, commit. And at this point, we're well on our way into our new beekeeping journey by buying the equipment, putting it together, ordering our bees, and getting our apiary ready for those bees to arrive and our equipment in place. So our confidence continues to rise from this point, and we move on up to point number 3, which is our first season high. By now we've got bees. We've been poking our noses in the colony, watching the bees work. We get to see brood and frames of honey for the first time. And perhaps maybe even we spot our queen and we feel so excited and proud of ourselves. Our first inspections are just so much fun. We don't even know what we're looking at yet, but it's all there and we get to see it, and so it's so exciting. This is where things feel like they're working. Now, the reason that things feel like they're working at this point is generally because beekeeping begins in the spring. And in the springtime, bees practically keep themselves. It's easy for them to grow, and the detriment of pests and diseases have not caught up yet with the bees, nor have they caught up with the beekeeper. So they don't know the woes of beekeeping yet. And so these are the new beekeepers' heyday. So it gives that almost false sense of security, but also a true sense of wonder. But it doesn't last long because of the next point on this arc begins to dip just a little bit. So remember, this is our first season high because we're at our high point and we're feeling good. So we can only go down a little bit at this point. And so here we are at point number 4, and this is the confusion phase. This is where we start seeing things that we don't understand. The books said one thing, but reality shows a completely different picture. This is where we experience unexpected problems, and they're only unexpected because beekeeping is new. So we see things like queen issues, population fluctuations, swarming, which is always disheartening, especially for beginner beekeepers, watching their bees fly away. And this is usually the beginning of where we begin to see the first signs of pests and disease. Realizing that we've got to be more than just beekeepers, we have to be small hive beetle keepers, although we're trying to get rid of them. And so it's at this point where the beekeeper begins to feel doubt, confusion, and the beginning of overwhelmment. From here, all we can go is lower. And so we experience an emotional dip down. And this is going to actually be our lowest point in beekeeping. So let's make it lower than our fascination point. Let's just go to the bottom because that's how we feel at the moment. So point number 5 is our lowest point. And this is our emotional dip. This is where colonies begin to die, weaken, collapse. This is where the beekeeper feels frustrated, embarrassed, discouraged, and behind, because our seasons remind us that we've only got so much time to do things. And so it is at this point that most beekeepers quit. Which brings us to point number 6, which is right next to it. This is where 2 paths appear. Path A, like I just said, this is where beekeepers quit if they're going to do it. So they end up selling all of their equipment or storing it in the back of the garage, only to be a reminder later on that they failed. However, this is also the point, remember I said there's 2 paths, where path B starts. And that is, if you don't quit, it means this is the point where the beekeeper seeks understanding. This is where the beekeeper is almost forced by realization to become more thoughtful and observant of what's going on around them and what influences their bees. This is where they stop chasing random advice that they get from the guy at the club and from their neighbor down the road, who have completely 2 different contexts of giving that advice. And it's also where the beekeeper begins to look for principles and understanding signals that actually govern the colony. And so for that beekeeper who chose path B, only they continue to move on our arc. The one that quit, this is the end for them. They stopped at the bottom, and that's going to be how they feel about beekeeping unless they ever pick it back up and choose path B at a later point in time. So let's continue to follow path B from the beekeeper's point of view, who decided that no, this is not the end of my beekeeping road. I'm going to take this where I want it to go. So I'm going to take this down. We're going to start over at the bottom with the path B beekeeper, but I want to point something out first. Both paths are right here. Path A, the quitter, and path B, the one who continues. They both are at the bottom. One is where they stop, and the other one is where they truly begin. Beekeeping never starts in ideal circumstances. Successful beekeeping starts when it sucks the most. Okay, so continuing on with number 6. Remember, we're at the bottom. This is path B, the beekeeper who decided to seek understanding. This point, for him or her, is known as the turning point. From here, they can only go up. So here we go. And that up is usually going to be gradual. So we get to point number 7. And excuse me, I made a mistake earlier. Number 7 is the turning point. This is where things begin to change. Number 6 was just simply path B, the path to decide for something better. Okay, so now we're at point number 7, the turning point. This is where the beekeeper starts seeing patterns. Populations begin to balance through the seasons, or at least the beekeeper finally sees how a colony balances their own population through the seasons. For example, spring, expanding, building; summer, maintaining; fall, contracting and preservation. The beekeeper here at the turning point begins to understand the importance of timing, influential environmental signals, and begins to develop intentional management practices instead of reactive ones based on a sense of urgency. Now we continue to climb, and we get to point number 8. This is the climb towards competence. The beekeeper is finally beginning to get a grasp on this beekeeping thing. And I just want to point out, sometimes this arc will take 2 seasons. Sometimes it might take 3. Some of them get it in the first, but I'll tell you, that's very rare. It takes a lot, and it's okay that it does, for a beekeeper to see this happen. Right here, they've got a lot larger, they have a greater survival rate, so less loss. Their confidence finally returns from the bottom. Now they're like, okay, I'm starting to see things, I'm starting to get a hold on this, get a handle, and their understanding becomes grounded. Because they didn't give up, they have begun to build the most crucial tool in beekeeping that successful beekeepers all have, and that is resilience. And I really hope I spelled that right, because this is on camera. And so now we're going to continue to climb one more to point number 9. So where are we now? This is the point of realization. Realization of what? The realization that this struggle was part of the learning curve all along, and not personal failure by any means. I want to leave it simple and to the point. I'm not going to go any further past this. I'm going to leave you with one thought for you to think about. From my experience in 26 years so far, the beekeeper is actually managing themselves more than they ever manage their bees. Comb for thought. Thank you guys for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in part 2 of my signal-based series where we're mapping my clients' colonies. Hope to see you there. Hive Doctor out. P.S. If you find yourself down here, remember, path A is easy. Anyone can quit. But path B is only a decision away. It's at the bottom too. All you have to do is make a decision. And then from there, it just goes up. Now, Hive Doctor out for real.